Oh. No, you silly bitch.
Are there a bunch of people in your clique that share the same name? How do you differentiate them?
If you thought crazy stuff only happened to me when my family was around, you'd be sorely mistaken. I've always been a magnet for crazy, especially during the school years.
At college, there were way too many Steves. Like, every other person we knew was named Steve. There was too many Steves. And we lived with a Steve. We lived with a Steve, and everyone called him Steve. And this one time, he left the paper in the common room on the floor, and I picked it up, and I read Steven, and I was like, guys, whose friend here came and left the paper in here? And Steve was like, what? Because pretty much all he ever says is, what? But yeah, there was way too many Steves, and everyone called him Steve, and you gotta find a way to differentiate them. So we had Steve in our suite, who became Round Steve. And you might be like, oh, I wonder why we called him Round Steve. No, you don't need to wonder, I'm gonna explain it to you. I had a lot of Asians on campus, and he would always try to hug them, and they would always run away. Like, ah, and run away. And one time, we pulled two of them aside, and we were like, why do you run away from Steve when he tries to hug you? And one of them stopped. This particular Asian you're going to hear a lot about. So this story may give you an inkling into her personality. You're going to hear a lot about her in the future. But this one girl stops and she goes, because he is round. She even drew the circle in the air and everything. It was perfect. So we have Round Steve, who lived with us. Also known as the roundening or circumference, because of the circular nature of his body. Then there were the two Black Steves that we hung out with. So Black Steve didn't work, and then we started to call them Ninja Steves because one of them ran the parkour club on our campus. So he became Ninja Steve, but he also did Capture the Flag, and he would like hide under the bridge and what have you. So he was Ninja Steve, but then one of our friends had a friend named Steve that would come to visit our school all the time, and he would play Ultimate Frisbee with our team, even though he wasn't part of the school. So maybe against. I don't know. I didn't hang out with the Ultimate kids. That was too New Paltzy for me. Professional Frisbee teams. That's too New Paltz for me. So we couldn't call Black Steve Ninja Steve because then there were two Ninja Steves, and then Black Steve would be like, no, call me Black Steve, it's fine. So visiting Steve became Ninja Steve, and he's still Ninja Steve to this day. Sometimes people post on his wall, like, hey, Ninja Steve, which actually makes sense because sometimes some of us post on Black Steve's wall, like, hey, Black Steve, and people will be like, what? But it's just, you get used to it. Like, that's it. Black Steve lived with another Steve who was white, and we didn't want to call him White Steve because there's already like 12 White Steves in our clique. So he became Big Loud Steve or Polish Steve. So there's just, there's so many Steves. Why is Steve so common? So common! Now, oddly enough, Black Steve, not Ninja Steve, Black Steve ran Parkour Club. And this one time...
Well, hello there, everyone. I'm here on my college campus. And I'm going to tell you guys a story. There's a squirrel in that bush if you can't hear it. And I'm going to tell you a story about a Steve in a second. So I hope you guys all enjoy. I wanted a visual aid, so this episode was a week late, but I came to my campus and I'm going to show you something. So by now, you guys have probably all heard about all different Steves, but I'm going to tell you a story about Black Steve. You see this, the Fine Arts building? You see that roof? I guarantee you that there's a soggy paper bag full of condoms. Very soggy, not for the reason you're thinking of, but just because it's been up there in the rain for many, many years on the roof of that building. Because we do a thing here called Condom Casino. And Black Steve took that bag from one of our friends that he wanted to protect, and he parkoured onto the roof of this building via the main doors. And I'm pretty certain there's a soggy bag of condoms on top of that building.
Now that you've heard about parkour condoms, you know a little bit more about Black Steve. Let me tell you about Round Steve. A little later on in this season of Unfairy Tales, there's going to be an episode devoted to creepy people. Well, one creepy person in particular, who I'm sure is still at the school, because he's just, he is the apex creep. Just, your skin will crawl when you hear stories about him. But that's because he's creepy all around. Round Steve, on the other hand, performed the creepiest action I've ever borne witness to in my entire life. Like, ever. So there were these two Japanese girls that hung out with us all the time. We played Rock Band all the time. We had fun with them, whatever. They were super comfortable with us. And they came to our suite this one night. And for some reason, we got on a chat about what was creepy. And Round Steve decided he still does not know to this day what brought him to this. And I wish I had someone to act this out on, but I don't. So I'm going to use my Donatello husband pillow. Okay, so pretend this is a small Asian girl, right? Okay. You got it. Pretend this is a small Asian girl. Okay. Now, small Asian girl is sitting on the couch next to Steve. Round Steve. Let me clarify, because there are a lot of Steves, as you already know. She's sitting on the couch next to Round Steve, right? And Round Steve goes, "No. You know what would be creepy?" And he reaches up over her head. Like, we thought he was going for the shoulder, like to hug her in, but no. He goes over her head to her face and just starts to rub it. Rubs her face. Hand over her head. Rubbing her face. And he doesn't say anything when he does it. And she lets out the most uncomfortable, scared laugh I've ever heard in my entire life. And Steve continues to say nothing. He just continues to rub her face. And then he slowly turns to her. They never came back to our suite, ever. To be honest, I can't say I blame them. I can't say I blame them at all. I would have never come back either. No. To be clear, Round Steve had a lot less going for him as well. He's just a smelly individual in general. And we had a running joke because he would go into the shower and he would come out sometimes smelling worse than before. And we thought like it was cologne or something, but we had a running joke because, especially me being a terrible person, that obviously the only way you could go into a shower and use soap and shampoo and come out smelling worse is if while you were in the shower you use your nipples to clean the grout. So sometimes we'd be like, oh, he's cleaning the grout, his grout cleaning nipples are on overdrive right now. And just imagine, like, oh, the idea of like squeezing your nips in between the tiles and gross. And yet he's still not the apex creep. The new Pulse, he's still not the apex creep. And I'm not just saying like it was just BO. Like he just did smelly things in general. When Round Steve poops, like because we were in a suite, there's only one bathroom and there were 6 of us, sometimes 5. You know, when I didn't have a roommate. But you'll hear about that a little later as well. There's 5, sometimes 6, and people come to visit. There's still just one toilet for all of you. And if you're in a bigger suite, because we had 6 instead of 8, I think there's 2 stalls in a bigger suite usually. But ours only had 1 stall and a shower. And if Steve was pooping, no one could go into the bathroom after that for like 2 hours. Like I'm talking, it was a smelly shit. Like that boy can poop. It would be funny because Steve would go to the bathroom and it would be like a battle cry. Everyone would be like, oh, okay, time to go downstairs. And like we'd have to funnel all the way downstairs. And like the bathroom on the main floor that's open to the public, if you want to call it that, in public, because New Paltz is very, very into the being a good community member and what have you. So like if you, sometimes they send people in just to see if they can get into dorms. And if someone lets them in without knowing who they are, they hand them a card that tells them they're a bad person and that someone's probably going to get raped. Like that's the kind of, we're a tight-knit community, but also very, very strange in some ways. But yeah, that bathroom that's open on the first floor is kind of right next to the RA's office. So we'd like funnel down one by one, go to the bathroom. Now, mind you, we lived in the Pie Suite. We were on the 3rd floor. We would go all the way downstairs just to go to the bathroom. And it wasn't like, it would be like one person would come down. No, like the whole suite would come down because it would be 2 hours of no one being able to go into the bathroom. And the bathroom was kind of in view of the, well, not obviously, we weren't inside of it, but like the door was in view of the RA office. So our RA, if they were on duty, they'd be like, Steve pooped again, didn't he? We'd be like, It smells terrible.
Hey there, guys and gals. I hope you're enjoying Season 2 of On Fairy Tales, The School Years. As always, you can click the link on the left to see the previous episode, or you can click the link on the right to see the playlist where you can see all the episodes so far. Not only do I have terrible luck with women, I'm also stubborn as hell. So definitely not the best picker.